Good day everyone, my name is Navneet Anand from Voice Surgical, local and global. Today we'll be talking to Mr. Manish Gupta, Consul General of India in Sydney. Manishji, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
If I'm not wrong, I think you are almost in halfway through your posting here in Sydney. What have been the highlights of the stay that you already had?
Yes, Namni, you're absolutely right. I've realized almost I'm midway through my term.
That's right.
Yes, Namni, times have really flight fast. If you see during the last 1.5 years, if I take a bird's eye view of all the developments that have happened between India and Australia, I think it's a momentous time period that we have over here. Within the consulate, we worked on all spheres, be it political, trade, commerce, cultural, to name a few, and of course the efficient delivery of consular services largely for our Indian Australian community. So if you see during the last 1.5 years, last year itself almost 30 business events we organized. Another 50 on the cultural front. As you know, after Prime Minister Modi's first visit to Australia, a decision was taken to set up the Indian Cultural Center over here. Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center came up within less than 1 year of that announcement, and since then the Cultural Center has done some amazing work. It's not only about promotion of Indian culture, but also bringing in the Australians and the Indian Australian community working together on the cultural front, and our ever increasing Indian diaspora. That also means large expectations on the consular services front. Last year itself, we delivered nearly over 60,000 consular services from this post itself.
There has been a controversy that has been going around in circles with the New South Wales Indians around, that the documents cannot be certified by a Justice of Peace. It has to be done by a notary public itself. What exactly is it? Why are we different than other states?
Namni, let me explain you very briefly. First, there is no controversy. When the consulate has to make certain amendments that are based on the legal advice of the New South Wales government, they advise that certain documents, because they are foreign documents for Australians, the New South Wales Act doesn't authorize JPs to attest those documents. So what we did thereafter was to ensure to find a balanced way where Indian Australian community, we should assist them as much as possible while being consistent with the New South Wales law. Because we have to understand the systems cannot operate in a legal vacuum. So what we did thereafter was we authorized VFS to accept all the supporting documents in person on behalf of the consulate without any need for notarization by anyone.
Right.
So in short, what it would mean is, if you are going to send us documents by post, they have to be notarized.
Right.
But if you go in person, nothing extra is needed. And one thing more I would like to inform everybody, generally, all over the world, the consular documents are accepted by Indian embassies and consulates all over the world in person. But in case of large countries like Australia, the United States, we have entered into a special dispensation because of the vastness of the geography. To avoid inconveniences to the people, we accept documents by post.
Right, because what I could understand with the conversation that we're having at the moment, the people who cannot come to the consulate or VFS office by themselves, they have to get the documents notarized. Otherwise, they come with the original document and VFS would be certifying it themselves, or a self-attestations will work.
Yeah. Perfectly, yeah. That's the absolute correct understanding. So for instance, if you are living in a far-flung area, you can send the documents notarized, supporting documents, send it to us. And for any reason you are coming to Sydney, Of course, notarization is not needed at all.
Right, because Notary Public, getting the documents done by Notary Public was costing a substantial amount of money. Probably that was one of the reasons that everybody was concerned for this extra expense that was coming on the way. We all have been going through a difficult situation during this COVID-19 pandemic. And there are a number of people of Indian origin that are stuck in Australia and vice versa as well. The number of students who went back to India and they got stuck in India as well. So what has been the CG's office role in looking after the requests of this sort of Indians going back to India or Indian students, international students coming back to Australia?
As you know, because of the COVID pandemic, it's really a very challenging year. It's a challenging year for both the governments, challenging year for the Indian Australian community also. Especially in the initial phase, you would have noticed when the first cases started coming from February onwards. In Australia, especially during the initial, I still remember during March and April, there were a lot of concerns. Our people were stranded, those especially who were on tourist visas, those who were on visitor visas, or even those who lost their jobs. So our priority was to first repatriate those people who were the most vulnerable ones. And thankfully, as far as Australia is concerned, the Vande Bharat mission flights were a great help to us. In the initial phase of flights, we were able to really send all the critical load that we felt, these are the most vulnerable sections of people that should be evacuated, sent back first. And I think this thing we accomplished within the first 3 months. In fact, in a lesser period of time. And thereafter, as you see, the Vande Bharat mission flights are still operating out of Australia. And Sydney in many ways is a very privileged position because Air India continues to operate from Sydney still, even during this month also on every Fridays and Mondays Air India is operating. And what the government also did was permitted charter flights. Because charter flights provided added capacity and added destinations. So during the last 6 months or so, from Sydney itself, we have repatriated around 11,000 Indian Australians.
We talk about Vande Bharat flights versus the chartered flights going from here, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, or Adelaide, or different cities in the country, back to India, and vice versa, the flights coming from there. What I could see is number of Vande Bharat flights has been reduced from what it used to be earlier versus the chartered flights. Any particular reason?
It all depends on the needs of the people. Right now, as we were discussing, the initial phase was our stranded people, students who wanted to go back to India. Now the situation is the other way around. A lot of Indian Australians presently, they are in India and they want to come back to this country. But because of the capacity constraints here in Australia, the various restrictions that are in place, each incoming Air India flights can bring just around 40 people.
That's right. That's right. I think in some of the flights, even less than 40.
Yeah. So that's a issue that we both governments are working with, and as soon as the Australia has greater capacity to intake, probably that will be easier for bring the Indian Australians who want to come back here to unite with their families. So it's a work in progress. So we are pretty hopeful that this thing will also be accomplished.
I would be looking forward to get some good news from both sides, India as well as the Australian governments, that more of the Australian Indians stuck in India can be repatriated back to Australia as soon as possible. And probably you need to have some more extra efforts to be put in to ensure that we get them back as soon as possible.
Yes, we are working, but things in pandemic times, it's not very easy for both the governments, but we are trying our best. As we are discussing this repatriation, I would also like to thank all the community organizations. Because in the initial phase, a lot of our stranded people, our international students, probably they needed a lot more help, assistance, guidance, and that was forthcoming from all sections of our community. And indeed, that was very helpful in soothing their anxieties and making them much more comfortable over here. And my sense is nearly 70 to 80% of our students, they prefer to stay back here.
So what was the extra steps that were being taken by the consulate office to support all those international students who were stuck and were in the dire need of some assistance and help at the time?
You see, we worked on a two-pronged approach. Number first was those who wanted to go back. We prioritized their return. We ensured within the initial phase of flights, these students were sent back if they desire. And second were those category of students, who preferred to stay in here and to provide them all sorts of support, Some of them need mental counseling also. Some of them just need emotional support. Some have lost their jobs. Some, providing even the basic supplies. So these are the things, we put together in place mechanisms, working together with the community organizations to help our international students.
This time have been so difficult for each and everybody, not only in India and Australia, probably around the globe. We all have faced a situation where everybody was feeling helpless. So there was no difference between rich and poor, old and young. Everybody was there at the same platform. Business have been affected globally as well. Can you throw some of the light that Indian government is taking steps to improve the trade relations between India and Australia?
Yeah, that's a very pertinent question. But let me also explain your very first when we were discussing, this year also has been, despite the pandemic, a year of momentous developments. Probably you would have noticed, the virtual summit, the June 4 virtual summit that we have between the prime ministers of both the countries. It was a major milestone in our relationship. Our relationship in less than a decade, nearly around a decade, has been transformed to a comprehensive strategic partnership, meaning thereby the entire gamut of issues that you can think of, this includes trade and commerce also, we can discuss and work with a deepened sense of engagement. Business, of course, this year has been affected in line with the global downturn, but it is one sector, which has tremendous potential, and probably we have covered to a lot more ground. This includes, for instance, investments by the Australian industry, super funds, to take advantage of the Indian growth opportunities, investments by Indian companies here in Australia. There's a lot of ground that can be done. Our core strengths in the IT services industry. They have a decent presence over here, but there's the capacity to do much more. And these are the areas, Australia, this is a country with great rich in natural resources. And India has now become open for mining. Some of these complementarities that can be harnessed by both the sides. And good thing is, because we are natural partners, we have the same systems of governance that provides a great degree of comfort for both the sides for deepening this trade and commerce partnerships between both the countries.
With the Indian cricket team already in Sydney doing a practice in Blacktown
Yes.
Cricket Stadium, and we're looking forward for the matches, T20, and probably there's a one-day and a test match happening in Sydney as well. Indian Tourism Office, that was closed a couple of years ago. With the current situation that we're going through, definitely tourism was the worst affected area that has happened along with the aviation. Are there any plans for Indian Tourism Office to come back to Sydney to enhance the number of tourists and provide them the services?
Indian Tourism Office, in a sense, was relocated to Singapore. Because the Singapore regional office is part of a consolidation of the strategy at the government of India's end, where they are covering not only the Oceania region, but they are covering the entire Southeast Asia to bring in greater synergies and greater coordination in this effort. It doesn't mean that the Indian Trade Office presence comes down here. They are in the process of appointing a representative in this country.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of the pandemic and other things, those things have slowed down. But I am pretty hopeful this will be done as soon as the situation becomes normal. But meanwhile, even during these times, it's more about virtually exploring about the tourism opportunities also. And as things improve, our air borders are open, we are certain, that tourism will once again pick up between both the countries.
We look forward to that. Is there anything special with we Australians of Indian origin should keep an eye? Something special happening in the future between India and Australia that we are working on?
You know, as we enter in very soon, we'll be entering into 2021, and probably some of you would have already noticed, India will be reaching the 75th Independence Day.
Mhm.
So we are going to have a year of celebrations for reaching the 71st anniversary of India's independence. So we expect to start celebrations sometime in the middle of next year, entering into the next full year. And this is a time where we all need to work together. We all need to put our energies into synergies into place and have a great year of celebrations. Great year of celebrations also of the contributions of the Indian Australian community, and also the areas where we can partner, we can deepen the relationship between our two great countries.
So would there be any of the Australians of Indian origin be sent back to India to be part of the major celebrations back in New Delhi as well?
Coming up with very preliminary ideas, and once we are able to crystallize everything, we will be sharing it with you.
We look forward to that. We look forward to that. Before I wrap up, may I request any of the messages to all the Indians in Australia?
You know, I wish each and everyone all the very best as we enter into the new year. This has been an unprecedented, challenging year for all of us, but I am thankful the way the Indian Australian community has carried forward during these difficult times. We must maintain our spirits high as we enter into the new year. I think better times lie ahead for all of us. I wish each one all the very best.
On behalf of French World TV, Fiji Times, India Time Australia, Voice Article, and my team, Varun Tiwari and Tarun Yadav, just want to say you thank you so much.
Thank you.
जी हाँ, आज हमने की काउंसिल जनरल ऑफ इंडिया इन सिडनी मिस्टर मनीष गुप्ता से बातचीत और मैं आपका नवनीत। मनीष जी, थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you. Namaskar.
One-stop answer to your Australian education and visa matters. Gemco Sydney. Dream big, achieve big.
Fiji Times. Be with the times.